Hello and welcome to Politics here on France 24. One of the most difficult issues to deal with as president is a hostage situation. François Hollande finds himself these days in the midst of a high-wire act, trying on the one hand to free 6 French hostages held in Africa, while at the same time, on the other hand, preparing to wage a war on those very hostage takers in northern Mali. So how do you deal with this? Is this mission impossible? To discuss the issue today with me is Christian Chénaud, who is a journalist with France Inter Radio and who was himself a former hostage in Iraq back in 2004. Also with me, Pierre Cherriot, who is the editor-in-chief of Slate Africa. And joining me via satellite from Geneva is Alexandre Vautravers, who's the head of the International Relations Department at Webster University. Before we jump in the debate, let's take a look at the quandary facing the French president in Africa.
7 months after the coup d'etat in Mali, the northern part of the country remains largely under the control of Islamic militants. West African countries are now planning to send in their troops to intervene, after the UN Security Council gave the go-ahead to oust them. On Tuesday, Paris suggested it could happen sooner rather than later. News of a military operation is deeply worrying for the families of 6 French hostages being held in Mali. On Monday, they outlined their fears to French President François Hollande.
We're very distressed because we know what the repercussions of military action could be on the hostages. That's what we told the president. He was firm when he said that he wouldn't stop them negotiating. So we're going to continue negotiating.
France won't be sending troops to Mali, but it will support the mission, even if it places the hostages in more danger. Recent attempts to rescue French hostages in Africa have led to disaster. In January last year, Antoine de Léaucourt and Vincent Delory were found dead shortly after being captured in Niger by Al-Qaeda's North African wing, Hakim. A few months before, the same group executed 78-year-old Frenchman Michel Germano. Mauritania, with French support, had launched a raid intended to rescue him. Speaking on France 24 last week, President Hollande declared that despite the previous failures, military intervention could help those being held in Mali.
We have 2 obligations: to free our hostages and to liberate Mali from terrorism.
How do you do that and negotiate at the same time?
It's not a contradiction. I believe the captors know very well what can happen if we strike, and so perhaps they might decide to release the hostages sooner.
2 days after this interview with the president, an Islamist movement in northern Mali known as the Mujahou vowed to kill the hostages if Paris continued to push for military operations. But the French defense minister has played down fears that the hostages could be killed, insisting that it's not the Mujahou that's holding them.
Christian Chénaud, you were yourself, as I said, held in Iraq 124 days back in 2004. Do you understand the worries of the families of the hostages? Because they hear the president say, we're going to war on the people that are holding the hostages.
Of course I understand, because I imagine for the family it's something terrible. I imagine they can't sleep at night because, military intervention could be put the life of the hostage in danger, and we don't know what can happen. So yes, I imagine for them it's a nightmare, to say the truth. So I don't know, for the French, of course they are talking about a military intervention, but it's not tomorrow, it's some weeks, maybe some months. So what's happened now, we don't know. I don't have inside information about the negotiation or not, but it seems something is going on, because the last step of the proof of life, what they call, it was on 29th of August. And so maybe it showed the hostage taker they wants to negotiate. I don't know.
Pierre Cherriot, do you think that François Hollande knows what he's doing? Because it seems a contradiction to say we're going to kill you, but we want you to free the hostages.
It's not really a contradiction, because we have to say that and to notice that France is not going to war. France will help West African countries do an intervention in North Mali, but the
France has pushed very hard for that intervention at the United Nations and elsewhere.
Yeah, the France and also the US and other countries are involved, but there is no really military intervention. And we have also to notice that in the past, ACME people, not Mujao people, but ACME people who are in charge of the hostage, they made a lot of money with this hostage, and they are asking for more than 100 million euros this time. And I don't believe they will just go to kill this French hostage, and I hope they will not do it, of course, because for them there is a lot of financial background. They hope with this hostage.
So do you think there are indeed negotiations between France and the hostage takers behind the scenes?
Of course, it's not, maybe they don't negotiate straight away and directly, but you have people in Burkina Faso and other places in West Africa who are negotiating a lot with these ACME people.
Laurent Vautravers from Geneva, do you think the president is taking a lot of risks? Some people are surprised by his willingness to separate the issue of military intervention and the hostage situation.
Well, definitely, we would like to have everything neatly put in different boxes, but unfortunately, this is the shape of things on the international scene today. The United Nations refers to complex emergencies as the terminology, because what we have here is a hostage situation, but we have a mafia situation in many parts of the country. We have an enormous corruption issue. We have a governance issue because of a coup against the government of Mali. We have a very weak governance situation over there. We have separatist groups. These separatist groups, in many ways, have demonstrated a lot of infighting. We have a humanitarian situation. So it is a complex emergency, and it is very difficult. It is going to be even more difficult from now on to separate the military operations from the humanitarian space, from the economic development aspects, from the stabilization and the rule of law issues. It is indeed an extremely complex situation.
Christian Chesneau, obviously when there is a hostage situation, there's a lot of talk about ransom, about money being paid. You were in a hostage situation. We've seen in the report that France has sometimes tried the military way. Do you think that France is now keen to negotiate with the hostage taker and pay some money to get them out?
You know, the tradition in France is to negotiate the freedom of the hostage. You know, it's a long tradition. It's come.
This is what happened for you?
For me, for other people, you know. But now it seems that it's more difficult because the geopolitical situation is very complex. You know, for my case, it was in Iraq, occupied by the American. We were, you know, against the occupation, and so we have negotiated something. I don't know what exactly, probably some money, but we haven't seen, you know, the bags, you know. But you know, you are not, you know, free by hazard, you know, by chance. You know, there is a negotiation. It's a long process, you know, and the process is made of videotapes, proofs of life. You have signature of newspapers. You know, we have the special service. They are dealing with this, and in this case, they are doing the same. And I think they know where the hostage they are, and you have satellites. You have, you know, many, you know, technical equipment to do the job. But the problem is to find the right emissary, to find the way to reach the hostage taker. But I think, from my point of view, that, you know, when the file is lasting a long time, it's more than two years now, maybe the hostage taker, they wants to put an end to the affair, because they feel, as my colleague said, they want money, but they feel also maybe they will war military intervention. So maybe it's better now to make a deal before it will be too late.
Do you agree? I mean, there are some countries that apparently, according to what people say, paid recently this summer. There were 2 Spaniards and an Italian who were freed in Burkina Faso, actually. Do you think that France is indeed trying to negotiate with money right now, and that maybe François Hollande can speak this way because he knows that things are progressing.
Yeah, as Christian said, France is negotiating. It's very difficult for France to say officially they are negotiating, because you don't have to forget that the big country in this part of the world is Algeria, and Algeria always refuse a negotiation, and they say that if you give a lot of money to the hostage takers, you will improve their power, and they will have more and more influence in this part of the world. Then France, like Germany, cannot say what they are doing. They cannot say it officially.
Right. Laurent Vautravers, I mean, obviously, it's kind of a vicious circle, if one may say, because if you pay a ransom, and a big one, Pierre Charuel was talking about 100 million euros, well, obviously, this money can be used to buy weapons, and those weapons could be used against the fighters that are supposed to be sent there by African countries. So it's a dangerous game.
Well, the purchase of weapons in this part of the world, unfortunately, is not really a problem. Weapons are definitely available, and the recent crisis in North Africa has made thousands of weapons, including heavy weapons, available. So I don't think that the weapons is an issue. You did talk about a vicious circle, and perhaps here we have now really a change in strategy that is possible. Perhaps it is possible to break now this deadlock. For now, the past 2 years, these negotiations have presumably been taking place. It has been possible to negotiate with money, with remittances, and unfortunately, none of this has proven successful. There are also some great technical difficulties for special forces or intervention units to be able to come and free these hostages, because we need to be aware of the distances, simply the complexity of the situation on the ground. So perhaps in some ways we could say that with more diplomatic and military presence of France, and with also the proximity and the engagement of neighboring states, because I do not think that any rescue operation will come from the mainland of Mali, but most probably will come with either foreign, a third-party special forces, or the French special forces themselves. But most probably it will be important to engage neighboring states to Mali.
Christian Chesneau, in the past there have been attempts to rescue hostages by force. Do you think this is now totally ruled out by François Hollande? Nicolas Sarkozy tried. It didn't really work.
I think now it's not an option now, because we have the case of two poor French guy that has been killed during an operation, a rescue operation. So I don't think Hollande wants, if they kill four of the hostage or 6, it will be a disaster. So it's a very, very small line. It's the line of maneuver is very, very fine and low. So I think the message is the military intervention is a kind of music to the hostage taker, to say we have to make a deal now, because if not there will be intervention. But at the end they want to negotiate. I think they want to negotiate the hostage taker.
Do you agree? I mean, that the military intervention is only a way of pressuring the hostage takers, or that the military intervention, it seems, will take place whatever happens with the hostages?
The military intervention will take place, but it's also part of the negotiation. We don't have to forget that inside ACME people, inside ACME movement, you have very pragmatical people who are doing a lot of business and who have done a lot of business in the last years. And these people, they really want to negotiate, and they want to negotiate now because they know that maybe in 1 year or just 6 months it will be impossible, because there will be heavy fight in this part of the world.
Laurent Vautravers, do you agree with that? That there is a willingness to use force as a threat rather than a reality, or do you think that eventually, if the hostages are not freed, there will still be a military intervention, and that this could indeed really put them at a higher risk?
Well, I think what we have witnessed these past few days or these past few weeks demonstrates indeed that some form of military intervention is shaping up, is going to take place. What exactly is going to be the aim of that operation remains to be seen. In general, I think that over the past 2 years, very clearly we had an opportunity to negotiate financially the release of these hostages. When this military operation or this coalition operation takes place, I think that for the people who are holding these hostages, the value of these hostages will be extremely low. So I'm not optimistic.
Why would it be low? Why would it be low?
Well, because we have been negotiating essentially on financial terms over the past 2 years. This is something that someone mentioned, pragmatism. Yes, indeed, there are some pragmatic people on both sides of the negotiating table. Now we are entering really a more political phase, and I don't see that at the highest levels. I don't see that at the level this intervention is shaping that there can really be pressure based on the hostage taking in order to secure the abandonment of this operation.
Christian Chesneau, very quickly, is it a major risk for François Hollande?
Yes,
I mean, if there are videos of the hostages killed, I mean,
of course, but you have also to imagine that for the hostage taker, they are also extremists, but rational. You know, they want to survive, they want to continue their business, they want to stay alive, and if the hostages are dead, for them it's the end, because the intervention will be, you know, very strong, and they will destroy everything. So maybe there is a chance to escape for them before it's too late. This is the message. And the fact that they are making many, sending many messages, making videos, it's a message, you know. When they don't want to communicate, they don't do anything. But in 2 months, there was many messages. So it means something is going on. I don't know if they are afraid, if they want to, because 2 years, it's a long time. And also you have to remember that for the hostage taker, hostage are a burden, you know. You need logistics, you need security. So at the end of the day, you have to deliver, because for them also it's their own survival for the terrorist group.
Okay, we have to end it here. I'm sorry we don't have more time. We'll see how the fate of the hostages shapes up in the coming weeks, and if indeed there will be a military intervention in the area. Thank you to all of you from Paris here and from Geneva, and we'll see you next week here for another edition of Politics.